Welcome to Student-Centered IEPs. Start in the classroom practices that build input and ownership as presented by High Quality IEP Project. So we're super excited. I am Jessica Mayorga Nunez, the Program Support Specialist with SIP, and I'm thrilled to be the moderator for this breakout session. Just at first, let's do some logistics here. This session will be recorded and archived on the conference agenda page after this conference for 1 month. And closed captioning is available by clicking on the closed caption button at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. The interpretation icon in the same area will provide access to Spanish translation. And we will ensure the ASL interpreters are spotlighted along with the PowerPoint and the presenters. So please ensure your volume is muted to avoid background distractions while presenters speak. And we encourage you to engage with others in the chat, and when possible, keep your camera on so we can see your faces. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Noreen so we can get started. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica, and welcome everybody. So excited to be here. This is truly one of my favorite conferences. I look forward to so much, and I'm not just saying that, I really mean it. This is a favorite. So we wanted to kick us off today, and I see some people are putting what you wanted to be when you grew up as your earliest memory, and this is a picture of our core team. I don't know if you can guess who's who. You might see it later on, but I am the one all the way to the right. My dream was to be an Olympic ice skater. I didn't quite make it there. I did ice skate a lot. I ended up in the world of education, which is just as exciting and fulfilling, I think. So, yeah, let's get started. All right. So today we are going to be talking about student-centered IEPs, really how they start in the classroom. And so we'll talk about some practices that build input and ownership. So we are from High Quality IEPs, and we are a grant project, part of the California System of Support, which means that all of our trainings, all of our resources, everything we do is free. So please visit our website, utilize any resources we have, because it's all meant to support you all. We are in partnership with East County SELPA and Northwest SELPA, and we are funded by California Department of Education and CCEE. This is our small but mighty team. We've got 2 executive directors, Heather DeFeed and Leo Mepagoo. And then we also have Jennifer Yales, myself, and Hinda. And so we support this grant through the days. All right, so our objectives for today. We believe truly that every student deserves that IEP journey that would foster meaningful learning and prepares them ultimately for a thriving future. And so we're going to do a few things today. We're going to explore the meaning of self-determination skills through the Ascend framework. If you're not familiar with what that is, we will tell you all about it shortly. We're going to review what these skills look like for both students and educators. And then we will also be identifying strategies that strengthen these skills and reflecting on our own practice, so we could consider how we ourselves as educators foster and strengthen these skills. Jessica went through some of this, but we do have that QR code there that would link you to our slides for today, and we can also pop that link into the chat. We will be interacting quite a lot through the chat, so please interact with us as you're able to. And there's the emotions. We've got the closed captioning option, as Jessica mentioned. Love the reactions. So however you can talk with us and create that energy and engagement, we appreciate it. Thanks, Jessica. All right, so our vision ultimately centers around creating equitable practices that remove barriers. We want to create a sense of belonging for our students, for our families, and foster meaningful participation that does result in educational benefit for our students. So as a team, as we got grounded in this work, we quickly realized that the IEP is so much more than a meeting. It is really a journey. There are things that happen before the IEP, during the IEP, after the IEP, And before a child even has an IEP, there's a whole lot of resources around what we've called a place to begin. Um, on an IEP team, there are many faces and experiences. We've got parents, we've got students who really are that center of everything we do and our why, and then we've got educators. And all members have value and all members have a story. So we want to be sure to let's talk a little bit about IDEA. The law, federal law, does have some participation requirements for students. Now, the first one it has is that the IEP team, it says, whenever appropriate, the child with a disability would participate. Then it talks about transition services, and it has language about no later than the first IEP to be in effect when the child turns 16 or younger, as determined appropriate by the IEP team. And then it talks about transferring of rights at age of majority. So I want to ask, this seems really procedural. Is this really what's good for students? We're going to wait till they're 16 to really have them be a part of this. I don't know. I'm curious to see some of the thoughts there because we're talking about when appropriate. What does that mean? Any thoughts that come up for folks there?
Um, I guess I could answer the question while we figure out the whole jumping
Yes,
screen.
thank you.
I do currently work at a preschool, so our kids are super young. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that from an early age, maybe, yes, the whole when appropriate might be more applicable. But I do
Mm,
believe that as the child grows older, it is super important that they're part of these meetings and like they're able to advocate for themselves and like speak from their own experiences. They're the ones that are having all these different accommodations. Um,
right.
yeah. So yeah, I believe that it's important to bring them into the conversations.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We did not plant her in the audience, but yes, even as early as preschool, students can participate in ways and provide input into their education and priorities. All right, so let's keep going. It hasn't jumped for a minute, so hopefully we solved that. So another chat drop. As you think about your typical IEP meetings, what percentage of speaking time do you think students usually have? This is according to research. Do you think it's a 1, 0 to 10%, a 2, 10 to 25%, 25 to 50 would be a 3, or that they speak 50% or more? I'm seeing a lot of ones here. I see a 2, well, yeah, a 2 there, but mostly ones. And so thank you all for dropping those things in the chat, drum roll. And so according to the research, it does say that the typical amount a student speaks at their IEP, let's remember, this is the student's IEP ultimately, is 3%. So as we kind of let that simmer, let's keep going. And if you could put one word in the chat, how does this sit with you? Students speak approximately 3% at their IEP meetings. Yeah, it was really kind of it was a shock when I first saw this research. So I see the words terrible, discouraging, sad, definitely backwards. Yes, so we obviously have this charge that this is not the way it was intended to be, and this is not what is best for students. So we ask ourselves, how can we help elevate student voice, not only in the IEP journey, but in our instruction? And so something that came up as we started this work is that teachers had a lot of hesitation and said, but students aren't ready to just come to their IEP meeting. Some don't even realize they have a disability. Sometimes the families aren't ready for that. And so we honor and recognize all of these things. And so what we really want to start with is how do you just get a student to be empowered in their everyday education? We start building these skills and then ultimately it can transfer to that IEP process. But so we're going to talk all about this today. And Hinda, can you go to the next slide? Thank you. So how can we do this? One way is by building what are called self-determination skills in our students. So these are intentional and deliberate steps we can take again, even if they aren't attending their whole IEP or the IEP yet, We want students to develop these skills because the research has shown that in order for students to be able to lead and participate in their IEP process, they do need to have these skills. All right, so as we kind of ground ourselves in this, we spend so much time and effort in support of our students, and we want to create this shared vision for them that is about really their future. And there comes a time when they need to be a part of that vision of their future. We want them being a part of creating their goals, and part of that, living their own life to the best of their ability. How much input and agency have they had in creating these plans in these moments? So as educators, we are here to teach and reinforce skills so that our students then can assume their role as the lead in their own future to the maximum extent that's possible for them. So a little bit about self-determination theory. It proposes that all people have the capability and the capacity to be self-aware, to learn what influence we have on our environment, and then how to internalize motivation in a way that puts energy into the actions we're taking. So self-determination ultimately is taking that ability to shape our own life and make choices on our own behalf and have purposeful action. So why does this matter? Let's talk a little bit about why self-determination matters. And ultimately, it helps students build the confidence to participate meaningfully in their learning, speak up for what they need, and again, prepare for life beyond school. Because really, it's not just about today, it's about building independence toward their future and tomorrow. All right, so as a team, one step that we took to start building this framework and seeing it in action was that we put together a design team. And so this team was based to help people create, grow, and reflect on activities that would help students build their self-determination skills and participate and have opportunities to ultimately have higher participation in their IEP process. So meet our design team. We had a team from across California, different size districts, different demographics, and ultimately this team spent a year testing and designing with us and just making this really applicable for practitioners out in the field. And so here are a few of their testimonials after we had done this work for a year. A couple of the highlights: the realization of how fundamental choice making is, being able to be mindful and helping students see their role. And so you see a couple of those there. I'm not going to take too long on that, but ultimately they found value in being part of this work and trying these activities with their students. So this is a teacher named Vince who's going to share a little bit about a highlight of being part of this.
The nice thing about the student-centered design team is it's taught me to ask questions that I wouldn't have asked, previously. I think the goal has always been to have students be a more active role in the process of creating an IEP, of going to school, of making decisions. And while we all strive for that, we don't really have tools to make that a reality. And so being part of this program has helped me figure out the best way to bring some autonomy to the process so that students feel like they're empowered to make decisions for themselves.
All right. So he was one of our members that really found value and was able to share that. And so some outcomes of the folks that did participate in the team were that they were able to understand self-determination theory and in practice and in application. They were able to build their own self-awareness and reflect on their teaching approaches. There were some activities where teachers themselves were really challenged and would say things like, I don't think I have confidence in certain areas. And that awareness really kind of lent itself to different facets of empathy and ways to adapt various activities for students because they were able to examine their own vulnerabilities as well. And so they were able to increase their confidence in implementing some of these strategies. They were able to learn through each other. It was a cohort that met together and shared practice with each other. We did integrate coaching, both in a group and individually. And then they learned ways to embed self-determination. They realized many of these instructors realized they were already doing a lot of these things, and it helped them just be able to name it and be really intentional about how and when they were doing it. So it's such a neat experience, honestly, to be part of this work. So as we move through the next part, I'd like you to think of a student or a child you work with or support, or maybe in the past have supported. Um, and as you think of them, what is one word you would hope they would use to describe themselves? All right, I see one. Yeah, I love that. A student to describe themselves as capable. Thank you so much for that word. Um, I like the word that comes to mind for me is confident. Just
Hmm.
that basic confidence. Ooh, respected. Yes, who doesn't want to feel respected? We want that for everybody. Another one that comes to mind for me is belonging, that they feel they belong where they are. Ooh, heard. These are great. Thank you all. Supported, accepted. Yes, we want our students to come home and say these words. When we say, "How was your day? How are you feeling?" Imagine if these were the words our students were sharing every day. So this is our vision, this is our dream, and we're going to talk a little bit about how we can get there. And I'm going to hand this off to my lovely colleague Hinda to talk about our Ascend framework.
Thank you so much, Noreen, and thank you for getting us started and getting us excited about this work. And don't worry, we will hear from Noreen in a little bit again when she talks about her teachers. So I'm at the part at how are we about to do this? How can we support our students to increase their self-determination skills? And the way that we went about it at High Quality IEPs is we decided let's create an acronym because we don't have enough acronyms in special education. We wanted an additional acronym. And so ASCEND was born. And ASCEND stands for different skills within the self-determination theory. And each letter stands for one particular skill. So A for awareness, self-advocacy, confidence, expression, navigation, and determination. And so, what I'm going to do with you today is I'm going to walk through all these letters, maybe the first few letters a little bit slower, and then towards the ends we'll go a little bit faster. And I'm going to explain what those letters mean, what they look like in the classroom, what they can look like in the IEP process. And one of the favorite things of many of the teachers that we hear from are the examples that we're going to give you. So we have some activities to share with you, we have some testimonials, and all of that fun stuff. And like Noreen shared at the very beginning, we love engagement here. We want you to feel part of this work, part of this discussion. And how can you show some engagement? Well, as you look at each letter and the framework, and we're sharing these wonderful examples with you, we would love to hear from you how you feel about these examples. So if you feel like, hey, I'm already using this strategy, right? Drop a thumbs up in the chat. If you see something that you want to try, you're like, I've never seen this before, or this is so cool, such a great idea. Give us a little star. And if you have an idea to adapt, so you're thinking like, hey, I like the idea, I would need to adapt it for my students, drop a light bulb, if you will. So, and you don't have to memorize this at the bottom of the slides. We will have them displayed for you again. So let's start with A, awareness. And when we're talking about awareness, we're talking about the awareness of self. So understanding who we are, what we feel, and why do we do the things that we're doing. This is not just a skill that we're teaching our students. This is also a skill that we should be practicing as well. That's one of the feedbacks that we've heard when we were when we were working with our teachers, our group of teachers that Noreen um, showed you earlier. So, who are students that are self aware? So, these are students that can identify their emotions, they are goal oriented, they understand what stresses them out, right? And their responses to it, and they can reflect on their own strengths and challenges. And as educators, we can support support teaching this skill or nurturing this skill or enhancing these skills by supporting our students identifying their emotions, using vocabulary or visual tools to help them name it and understand it. We will encourage personal reflection about their strengths and their challenges. And we will also guide students recognizing their emotional stressors so they can be prepared and teach strategies on how to manage their reactions. And lastly, we can also create routines for our students to really be goal oriented and reflect on their goals. So, like I said, we were going to have some great examples for you. In a little bit, we were also going to share a website with you where these activities live so you can have access to them. You are welcome to use them. Like Noreen shared, this is a grant funded project, so everything is free for you to use. So, here are some activities that can support that emotion identification. So, we have some visuals like emojis that you can use. There is also an emotion, the feeling wheel. I'm sure some of you have seen it before. I tend to use it still as a 45-year-old woman. I think it's such a great way to really to name the emotions that I'm feeling. So again, and at the bottom, if you do some of these things, please give us a thumbs up. If you want to try it, please give us a little star. And if you have an idea to adapt, please give us a little light bulb in the chat if you don't mind. We love to see your reactions because that gives us some data too, right? We want to make sure that this is helpful to you. Another resource that we love here at High Quality IEPs, because it's one of our resources, is Building on My Strengths. And Building on My Strengths, we have different options. We have one for students, parents, and educators, but in this case, we're going to focus on the students. And here the students can share what their strengths are, what their preferences are. Talks about their interests and as well as their needs. Again, feel free to put in the chat if this is something you would use. Would you use something like this?
And I'll add in for this one, this was one of our
Mhm.
teachers in the design team named Jerry, and she worked with third and fourth grade. And so she had a different, variety of students. And you can see here, this student was able to write their responses. She had some students that they dictated and then she wrote the answers for them. Some did pictures. So different ways that this was adapted. But you can see here a couple of ways that the student was responding in terms of their strengths and what they enjoy. They like to work in a group. It says they like when their mom helps teach them. And so really getting individualized information on our students, really building that connection and hearing like what really works for them, what's hard for them. She found this activity really powerful and was able to adapt it to do with her entire class.
Yep. And I just saw Jen adding the link to the chat, so you can have access to it. Please feel free and adapt it, like Noreen said, in however way you see fit. This is from the teacher Amy. Jen, do you want to share a little bit about this?
Sure. Teacher Amy is adult transition program teacher, and she had a student that Charlie, who just went with the flow, had an aide, did most of the decision making. Adults did most of the decision making for him. So one of the benefits in the adult transition program, they're able to go to a destination. So they were going to go eat pizza. So she's been teaching him over time about preferences. So she started with his interests and then worked her way towards pizza. And so they used visuals to how would you make your pizza, Charlie, and worked through that. And ultimately, he was able to choose his toppings on his own pizza. Prior to this, he would just eat what was in front of him or not eat, not knowing the difference between I can choose what I prefer or not.
Thank you, Jen. Really appreciate that. All right, so this next example reminds me of one of the comments that I saw earlier in the chat. Somebody was saying, well, when we were asking about the percentage of students that are attending IEPs, somebody was saying, well, some students are really anxious about attending their IEPs and just listening to everybody talking about them. Well, so that is a reality that definitely happens. So I'm going to show you a video of teacher Vince who teaches high school, and listen to what his students was sharing.
Interacts with you, but you're the most important person. So, in thinking about this IEP meeting coming up, would you like to attend your meeting?
Not really.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, why wouldn't you want to attend your meeting?
Mm, it- I just have my teachers right there with my parents. Sometimes both of them.
Yeah.
And it's just my teachers telling them that either my progress isn't like going up.
Yeah.
Or basically just like anything like not positive about my grades or
Sure.
my academic work or me focusing, and I'm just there like hearing all of this and with my parents, and then I'm like,
So it's like the negative aspect of if you feel like they're going to say some things about you that are going to put you in a bad light.
yeah.
I got you.
So as you can see, some students are nervous and anxious about going to the IEP meeting, and their view of what an IEP meeting is that a bunch of teachers, educators coming together and they're sharing about things that they cannot do, right? So what Teacher Vince did as part of this project is he was involving the students before the IEP meeting by sitting down with them, creating this graphic design, this little worksheet in which they talk about what an IEP meeting is, what is the role of the student in an IEP meeting, and focusing on things that are going well. What do you want to tell your teachers to help the students really empower themselves to go to the IEP meeting and really have a different experience than what they think the IEP meeting would be. So I thought that was really great. Thank you. So the next one is self-advocacy. So self-advocacy, it means speaking up for yourself and your needs and, expressing your thoughts, feelings, and desires for things that you believe is right or fair. But it also talks about how to ask for questions and asserting your rights and advocating for your interests and well-being. So students who self-advocate, they are aware of their rights. They're aware of their IEP and accommodations, modifications, etc. They also engage in problem solving as well as decision making. They use communication skills to share their needs, and they also practice taking initiative. So, how can we help our students um, uh, practice these skills? So, we can support them through the awareness of rights. So, we can foster a safe and an open environment for the students to explore, to understand, to learn about their rights and express them to others respectfully. We can model as educators the communication needs by teaching respectful and effective expression. We can also provide structures to problem solving and decision making, for example, by sharing with students resources or strategies, or what peoples are needed to achieve these solutions. And also, we can support our students practicing taking initiative by giving them and providing them opportunities to prepare for meetings, to track for progress, and follow through with plans and etc. So let's take a look at some of these examples. This is teacher Kristen. I think this is Jen. Would that be Jen's teacher?
Yeah, at KU, at the beginning of the school year, she has the students create an email to introduce themselves and talk about their disability or accommodations that they're going to need in class. It gives them a way to start the conversation or relationship with the teacher. And as a result of KU sharing this with other teachers on the design team, they went with it. And someone said, oh, I'm going to do actually KU. She said, I'm going to actually do this at the end of the school year while the students are still fresh and understand who they are and allow the teacher time to learn about the students over summer. And then she's also going to give them now the opportunity. Other teachers are going to take it and they're like, I'm going to give them the opportunity to make a video rather than an email if they're not familiar. So different modalities of expressing and advocating for who they are in their best comfort.
Yeah. It's such a great idea. How cool would it be if you know you're having new students coming up in the classroom and you receive videos of these students or emails where they tell you themselves who they are, what their preferences are, and etc. That would get me really excited for the year. So let us know, is this something that you already do? Put a thumbs up. Is it something you want to try, or you have an idea to adapt it for your students based on their needs? All right, so here's self-advocacy in action. This was not rehearsed whatsoever. I just want to tell you, I went to interview this young lady, this amazing young lady, and then she showed me that she definitely knows how to self-advocate. And that was because she had an amazing teacher too. You will not hear me very well, but I was asking her about one of her activities, but just listen to her answer and how she reacts.
For the elevator pitch activity, I learned how to advocate for myself by telling my teacher, Miss Corral, that I need headphones in class doing independent work to help me. How did that go? Nope. No. I don't do that. I need some time before questions. I forget everything else except for the thing that I'm talking about. Okay, problem. No problem. Hey, do you know what you just did? Advocated for myself? Yeah, in real life.
Yeah, so she definitely knew how to advocate for herself. She needed some time for processing the questions I was asking her. And so she needed time for each question. And I was asking her a follow-up question, and she immediately said, nope, nope, I need time. You can't do that to me, lady. So I was very proud of her. All right, so this is Amy, teacher Amy. Jen, you want to share something about this
Yeah,
activity?
this is just building on the elevator speech that some of our students will need to be explicitly taught with visuals, like a task analysis on how to advocate for themselves. So take that into consideration. And then the student on the right is actually just rehearsing and using a teleprompter or a video rather than going straight up to somebody. So we practice first.
Oh my.
It's okay. You can keep going for the slide deck.
Okay. Is it still showing? I apologize. Here we go. Is this good?
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
And this was such a neat idea that teacher Michelle, who worked with sixth graders who were about to transition into middle school, and so she had, a prep sheet, and she realized that she wanted to do this sheet with her students. And so she had all of her students provide input into this. It's a little small, but ultimately, she asks, what are they excited about? What questions do they have? And so she did this whole pre-planning sheet with students. And then many of her students, because they did this preparation, were then able to attend their transition meetings and be an active part and ask things like if they were worried about would they eat lunch with their friends, about classes. And so it helped ease that transition. She had a couple students who didn't feel ready to go to the transition meeting, but she was able to then speak on their behalf. She already had their input, bring it back to them. I think one student recorded themselves and she was able to play the video. So this had a lot of different adaptations, but ultimately it all lent itself to a much more student-informed voice around transition.
Yeah, wonderful. And as always, is this something you're already doing, or something like this? Is this something you want to try, or do you have an idea to adapt it? So please let us know in the chat. Now we're gonna go to confidence. Confidence is a belief in yourself and means that you know that you have the ability to make your own choices and control your own life. It's trusting that you can set goals, make decisions, take actions that lead you towards what you want, even when things are challenging. I mean, I can speak for myself as an adult, I'm still dealing with some confidence issues. So this, teaching these kids at such a young age on how to practice confidence, I think that's such a valuable skill for life, right? So students who are confident believe in their abilities and apparently are very buffed. And they have the courage to try new things. They persist in overcoming challenges because they're confident and they reflect and learn from experiences. Right. And so we can support this by supporting their students believe in their abilities, highlighting their strengths. I know that the teachers that I've met, they do such a great job with that, really lifting these students up. But we can also model self-confidence and a growth mindset. You know, when you make a mistake, how do you react to it? Modeling it. As educators, we can also encourage risk taking. It's okay to take risks. That's how we learn, right? And by creating a safe and a supportive environment, challenges and celebrating efforts and attempt, not just the outcomes, but the actual journey, right? And so we can also foster persistence by guiding students through challenges and emphasizing the use of strategies, reflections, and perseverance. And then lastly, we can also provide opportunities for reflection and growth by tracking their progress, you know, adjusting goals, supports, or strategies as needed. So here is teacher Vince. Um, I gotta tell you, I unfortunately I don't have footage of this, but this is one of the activities where he asked the teachers to write cards to the students, thank you cards and etc. And it was read at at the very beginning of the IEP meeting. And I was talking to one of the students that experienced it, and it really brought tears to her eyes. That's how much it meant to her. So let's see what Teacher Vince has to say.
Yes. And so there are different points of ascend that I want to continue to do. One of which has been, we get feedback from teachers, of course, when we're creating an IEP, and we share that with students. But a lot of times it's kind of like, can be run on sentences. It's kind of, a sandwich of this is really good, but this can be improved. And so students I feel like they have so much tension in the IEP process because they just hear the negatives, even though it can be surrounded by positives. And so one of the activities that we did with Ascend is feedback they give us, but really emphasize the positive nature of what they're seeing in the class, or they're helping the people around them. And having a student open those letters before the IEP help, and then they keep that same feeling, that positive reaction in the classroom after the fact. And that stays with them for a long time because now it's something's tangible that they can have in their backpack, they can pull out whenever they need some reassurance, right? And so that's something that I want to continue doing, that I learned through the Ascend process that I wouldn't have done had I not been part of this team.
This is so wonderful. Imagine that students that we were talking about earlier that does not want to go to the IEP meeting because they feel like everybody's going to talk negatively about things they're not able to do, etc. Imagine starting an IEP meeting with cards from your teachers telling you about the growth and all your strengths and etc. And that would set the tone for the rest of the IEP meeting. Love it. And I also see somebody in the chat putting a star. Want to try it? I love that. Thank you. Here's another one. Here are some other activities. We have walk-up songs that we were talking about using walk-up songs as the students enter an IEP meeting. Some students are too shy to do that. So I had one student who had walk-up songs for different classes. She was a middle school student, so she had like 5 or 6 different classes. And for each class, depending on her mood, she would have a different walk-up song to walk in that class and in her AirPods. Dana shares that her child lives for walk-up songs. Yes, I hear you. They can be very, very powerful. And again, there are some other activities that we have online that you can just download, print out if you want to use. One of them is the courage ritual. As a high quality IP team, we actually sometimes use these activities when we have meetings ourselves as adults. So here you go. Jessica is saying, this is so cool. Thanks, Jessica. Such a good cheerleader. All right.
All right.
Noreen, go for it.
Yes, this is one of my absolute favorites to talk about. So this is Miss Vanessa. She teaches preschool in an inclusion program. And so she kind of did a really neat mashup of some of our confidence activities And so she had done activities already where all her students did pick their favorite walk-up song. Um, they had a day where they got to wear their favorite outfit that made them feel just special and fabulous. And so she turned it into a runway show. And she played their walk-up song paired with their favorite outfit. And here there were two students walking together because not everybody felt ready to walk on their own. So if they wanted to, they could pick a friend. But this was just such an amazing activity, and she shared just how much she saw the students come out of their shells through these notions of music and their own choice and getting to wear what they wanted and talk about why it was special or important. So this is just a picture of that, but it was so special to see and a neat way to see again, how can we make this applicable for our youngest learners?
So fun. All right, this is Jen's teacher, teacher KU.
Yeah, again, KU's a shining star here. This is Angel, and they were having a living museum. And at the Living Museum, when you enter the campus in the evening, you get a map of where everyone is at. And he was in charge of passing out the maps. It started a little rough, so with his greeting, but he used eventually, as he settled in, and they rehearsed this, used his AAC device to greet people and give them the map. And you can tell by the smile on his face and his mother, who's in the background wearing the gray sweatshirt, of how successful he was able to be.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm seeing some responses in the chat as well, people trying these activities out. Thank you so much for your engagement. All right. This is one of the activities that we have on the website and the resources that we're going to share with you. But for example, one of the activities is a letter to myself. This might be for maybe older students. You can adapt it for the little ones as well. But really allowing the students to think about some challenges that they have dealt with and really expressing the gratitude as getting through those challenges. Another activities is the rose, bud, and thorn. Again, as a team, we use this before our meetings. We do like these openings, and we actually use these activities as well. Yeah, let us know what you think about these activities in the chat.
And
This is
then,
Teacher Michelle.
sorry, yeah, this was Teacher Michelle and another extension of the walk-up song. I loved how she integrated it into writing and drawing, really to get the students engaged. So they had chosen their favorite song, and then she used a familiar graphic organizer to talk about why it was their favorite song and why it was meaningful to them. So you see a couple different examples there of how she used it, and then she had a student draw about it. And so she said this really lent itself to good connection. She ended up making a playlist and she would play their songs throughout different parts of the day. And she said the students just loved hearing their songs. This was a teacher who initially said she does not like music and she didn't think she could do this activity with her class. So it was especially rewarding, I think, for her to see just how far this was able to go and how successful it was.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And it's so great to see again, it's not only impacting the students, it was
Yeah.
also impacting the teachers as they were doing the self-determination work. So we have 15 minutes, y'all. Thank you for hanging with us. I'm going to go through the next three letters a bit quicker now that you understand a little bit what we're doing. So, but feel free to add any questions, or if you want me to slow down somewhere, I'm happy to do that. But I want to give us time for any questions and links and sharing all these resources with you. So self-expression it talks about who you are, that you can express yourself, showing who you are through your words, actions, or activities. We all have different ways of expressing ourselves. Could be art, music, writing, or even the way you dress, right? So students who are expressive, they do that through their personality, preferences. They use words, actions, visuals, tools to communicate. They can share their opinions and ideas, and they can also change how they communicate depending on where they are and who they are with. As educators, we can support expression by supporting clear communication, by modeling through organizing ideas, offering multiple modes of expression, creating opportunities. Again, you'll see like a theme, right? Creating opportunities, creating safer environments, and foster responsive communication by teaching students how to listen and as well as reflecting on feedback. So here's one of the students that I think this is teacher Amy again. They were asked to bring something that's valuable to them to the classrooms. So every student here was able to bring some of their valuable, whether it's a picture or a medal that they won or something. Again, there is universal UDL. We also reference UDL a lot as we're talking about these activities. So you can share a visual with your students where they can pick the strategy that they want to use to express themselves, because not every day we want to express ourselves the same way. And here are some other strategies such as storyboards and communication preference letters. Here's teacher Michelle. Jerry, did you want to say anything about this, Noreen?
I think we can just play the video, but it's so neat to hear her reflection on just this activity, even through that cultural lens.
Hi, Jerry Shoemake here with my exit ticket for expressions. This month, we went over different artifacts that we could bring in from home that would help our classmates and ourselves understand how we are each unique. The one little girl that brought in a little figurine, and she told the class about Rosco de Reyes. It's a tradition in the Hispanic community. And so she explained what it was, and then she went on to explain that she really enjoyed it because whoever finds this little figurine then has to make tamales. But she said that when the tamales are being made, it's an entire family that's making these. And so she said that she likes when they make the tamales because then she gets to hear stories about when her mom was young or when her grandma was young and the things that they did then. So it connects them as a family. So it was a nice opportunity. The children asked lots of questions. There were several that also participated in that tradition with their families, so they were able to connect. So it was a lot of fun.
Wonderful. Thank you, Teacher Jerry. And I do see some comments in the chat. We'll get to it at the end, or if my coworkers want to respond to it. Anyway, navigate. So navigating means finding your way. It involves assessing where you are, understanding the resources and tools that are available to you, and also identifying if there's any challenges and making decisions to move forward. So it requires like adaptability, problem solving, and resilience. And our students who demonstrate navigation usually understand systems and expectations. They use supports and relationships strategically. They understand who to ask for, who to go for certain things. They make goal-based decision and they adjust to problem solve. And as educators, we can support this by teaching how systems and expectations work. So that could be routines. It could be, like I shared with you, the IEP meeting or the IEP process, etc. Explaining the students their role in the IEP process, guiding students in identifying and using supports, supporting their goals, decision making, as well as creating, again, opportunities for problem solving and adjustments by modeling reflection, normalizing asking for help and coaching them, right? So here are some activities to practice this skill. So the students' goal is to meet new people at the middle school next year, and they had to identify their support people and resources. So they put circles in and were able to fill out where they can identify these people. And then the other one is type 10 words per minute. Identify people that can support him with this as well as resources. Again, this is from teacher Michelle, and she teaches upper middle school. Jen, did you want to share something about this video with teacher Dana with the students collaborating together?
No, you could just show a few seconds of it. I think it's more funny to watch three middle school boys try to figure out how they can get support or the scenario get support for a student who had a music lesson who might need help.
Maybe a music. Why? Practice with her? Right? One. Music from.
But you gotta figure out who they can ask.
And music friends.
But she did it, she took it outdoors, made it a creative activity, and then rotated centers like that.
Again, adapting it to however best works for your students. Here are some other activities that you will find in our resources, like a peer feedback. How powerful is that, right? Tell something you like, ask a question and give a suggestion, and also a worksheet around when things do not work. What did you try already? Really reflecting through that. The last one, not least, but this is determination, and that really means never giving up even when things get hard. It's about, it has confidence in it, right? So believing in yourself, working through challenges, like navigating, finding ways to reach your goals. It looks like asking for help or trying new strategies and staying focused on what you want to achieve. So let's take a look what that is for our students. So our students who are determined, they focus on goals and efforts. Again, you see that in, their self-awareness and confidence. Adjust without giving up. You see that back in navigation and expression skills. They stay grounded in self-worth as well as reapply strategies over time, right? So, us as educators, how can we support our students, young, old, middle school, whatever, all abilities to be determined? So, we can encourage a growth mindset, reminding them. We can provide tools and strategies like organizational tips, problem solving techniques. We can model resiliency. As adults, we make mistakes, we have setbacks. So let's model how do we go about that. We can celebrate progress, and we can, again, create an environment that is supportive and also has opportunities for the kids to practice these skills without the fear of making mistakes or being dismissed, right? This one I'm going to show. This is amazing. It's one of the students. It speaks for itself. So I'm just going to show it to you. This is teacher Elizabeth, high school.
Hey, Aiden, tell me what you just did.
What I did was made my first call, and I'm really confident.
What was the call for?
The call was for my really college, and that was my first call I made on my own.
Your mom usually calls for you? Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I feel like my genius is a little too overwhelming.
It's a little overwhelming. Yeah. I'm really proud of you. That's really cool. So what's next?
So what's next for me is college and then maybe a university.
All right. Thank you for letting me videotape.
And this is what determination looks like. And I am pushing for us to get a sticker that says, my genius is so overwhelming. We love that phrase at High Quality IEPs. So you heard a lot from us. We gave you a lot of examples. Can you think of a small shift you can make to strengthen student voice or ownership? Something that you can take, like you're leaving this session, I'm sure, very inspired. But can you think of a small shift that you can make? Please put it in the chat. Would love to hear from you. What are some ideas that you can take away? And I'm not saying like it should be a whole activity. It could be just like a small shift. If it's bigger and you can do that, feel free to share that as well. But to help your students' voice, to strengthen your students' voice or ownership. So please let us know in the chat. Dana says she will take an activity to one teacher that will 100% run with this. That's great. Love when we have those teachers around too that will run with that. And being more intentional in our teaching and curriculum. So we are promoting all the different areas of the SEND framework. Absolutely. And we want to tell you again, some of these things you probably are already doing because you are all amazing educators, right? But if we're intentional about teaching it and we can really measure progress and see gaps, so it doesn't mean you have to add to your workload. It means that we just be intentional about what we're doing. Thank you so much. I appreciate the response. So all these amazing activities, all this information, we were able to house it in one website. We have the Ascend website. I feel someone is going to put it. Yes, thank you so much, Jen. We'll put the link in the chat. It will, if you click on the workshops on the top, it will get you through all the workshops. Fun fact, today we have a collaboration cafe. We're going to be talking about navigation. It's on Zoom. Feel free to join us. I'm going to give you the information on that in a second. Here it is. This is our flyer. We've been having virtual workshops to talk about each of the skills. We've been having collaboration cafes where teachers come and tell us what they're doing in the classroom. Like I said, we have one today around navigation, and then after this, we have one more workshop that's going to teach on determination on May 19th. So if you can't get enough of our faces and our stories, please come and join us. It's a fun group. And then lastly, as you know, we're the High Quality IEPs project, grant funded project. We have tons of other resources on our website that are also free. You can use it however you want to. We are a young grant, so we are constantly creating new resources. If you want to know when new resources come out, please join us and sign up for our contact list. We don't spam, we're educators ourselves, so we understand you get tons of emails. We will only send you messages if we have new resources to share or workshops or anything that we're offering. And we're also on social media. We're trying to kill it on social media. We're trying to go viral. Hasn't happened just yet, but we have confidence and determination that that will happen. So we really appreciate you being here with us today. Feel free. We have 2 minutes. Look at that.
Yeah.
2 minutes, that's a record left. Feel free to, if you have any questions or anything that you want to share, we're here for it. We really appreciated that you enjoyed the activities. We saw some engagement on the chat of people using these activities. Really, really appreciate that. Anything else to my coworkers want to share? A little goodbye, farewell notes to our participants.
Just so thankful for you all to be here with us today, and hopefully you found something that you can take and run with or practice. Also visiting that website. The Ascend website has so many different ideas.
That's what I was going to say, the Ascend website.
Yeah.
We're getting lots of thank yous in the chat. So I do want to say thank you, Hinda and Noreen, and thank you everybody here today for your continued commitment to our students with disabilities and their families. And thank you to our ASL interpreters. We appreciate your support. Our shared mission is to design an educational system that innovates and elevates and creates meaningful and positive experiences for all learners from early childhood and beyond. And I too am looking forward to getting onto that Ascend website. So thank you all.